Hi everyone, my name is Phil Dunshee. I am currently the project manager of our land record system, and I've asked a colleague of mine, Lisa Long, who is our customer service and account manager, to join me in this conversation. Uh, we have been asked by the leadership of the Electronic Services System Coordinating Committee to provide a very brief overview of ESS and the history of our land records. So we're going to share a few anecdotes and hopefully provide you with some information that you'll find useful and helpful. So I have to start at the very beginning because that's where I started, and that is that once upon a time the legislature passed a bill that instructed the recorders to create a system for providing online access to records and to facilitate electronic recording in all 99 counties. And that's pretty much all the initial legislation said. There was a funding stream attached to it. And back in roughly September of 2003, um, the Recorders Association established a task force to figure out what they were going to do with this. And so the task force at that time really had to decide how they were going to organize themselves and how it was going to work. And they took on the task of going through a design phase to define what the system should look like. It didn't have a name at that time. The operating term was the County Land Record Information System. Um, and as it developed, it acquired the branding Our Land Records and the web domain that goes with that. Um, During the design process, the recorders were assisted by several professionals from the Iowa County Information Technology Group, and they were extremely helpful in designing what particularly the search application and the database was going to look like. Um, as a result of that, the recorders issued a request for proposal, and there were about 11 firms that responded to that. Some of them were private software development firms, some of them were known land record management companies serving counties from around this country. Um, the key thing that the RFP committee decided at the very beginning was, were they going to build it or were they going to buy it? And by that I mean, were they going to license a pre-existing system and then apply it to Iowa, or were they going to build something unique to Iowa? And the primary driver ended up being that they wanted to control the data. And for that reason, they decided to build the system. So once that was done, once that decision was made, a vendor was chosen to help the committee actually build it. And during the course of 2004, most of that effort to build the original County Land Record Information System, which became known as Iowa Land Records, was completed. Um, there were a lot of skeptics and doubters at the time, and there was a certain amount of amazement that the website went live in January of 2005. And during that initial year, much of the work was to migrate data from county systems into the statewide database and then begin to make it available through a search application online. And that really was the beginning of it. I having had a chance to observe it, would give a tremendous amount of credit to the county recorders who were on the original task force. And I can't name them all, but I will single out one person, and that's Dwight Ryland, who was the recorder from Wright County, and he was the chair of the Iowa County Recorders Association, or the president. He was the leader, and he really did a great job leading the task force and helping make decisions so that the work could get done. And one of the characteristics of recorders in that group was many of them were members of the Property Records Industry Association nationally, and they really believed in setting standards. They believed in trying to create consistency in service. Um, in fact, the Recorders Association at the time had just recently completed a set of standards on indexing grantor grantee names. That started before our land records ever began. So that really is the original history of it. And I've really had the good fortune to be a part of the project for much of its history. So the system, as I said, did have some critics at the time. People really didn't think it could be done. And there were a lot of questions raised at the very beginning. We went through a comprehensive statewide audit by the state auditor's office. Um, and one of the compelling things that happened at the beginning was that all of the counties pooled their money together to make this system. So that's the short history of the beginning. Now, what happened along the way? Well, Lisa was a part of one of the first big things, and that is we had a privacy event. That's what we called it. And there was some concern about private information being exposed online because all of these older records were now available, freely accessible over the internet. And there were Social Security numbers in those records. They were public records, and if you go into a recorder's office, anybody can look at them. But what was different is these were being put online. And as a result of that, a major initiative was created in 2008 and 2009. And Lisa got to observe that shortly after she joined the team. Um, and we had to go through a very comprehensive redaction project. At the time, the decision was made to create a redaction system that applied statewide, and that was done. And that ended up being a very important milestone for the whole project. What's your take on what you observed in the privacy event, Lisa?
It was about 3 weeks after I started that it took off. I believe it was actually your birthday weekend when you got the call that said, hey, you've got to take this system down. Certainly back then, we didn't have the volume of records online that we do now, which in 2026, we're over 25 million records. So, but it was an easy, okay, we have to do this. We have to keep everyone happy. And then I remember going to meetings to meet with the redaction vendors, which I didn't really understand at the time, but learning a lot. And some of those meetings took place at the ISAC offices down by what was then Sec Taylor, which is now Principal Park, and learning how that was going to work and the selection of the redaction vendor that we still use over 15 years later.
Absolutely. And one of the great things about the way it was structured is that it is a combination of OCR and human inspection. And so the accuracy rate of the redaction process has proven to be very, very high over time. So going forward in time, then there have been other important events, but not really necessarily as momentous as those were. Where we are at right now, I think is maybe an opportunity to reflect from the standpoint that at this stage of the game, there are not many recorders left working and acting as recorders that were there at the very beginning. And I think people do have a way of kind of looking at things freshly. And there is the attitudes about standards and conformity really are not necessarily the same as they were back in 2003 and 2004. So that's something that is a challenge that needs to be faced. And one of the things that could be a higher priority in the not too distant future is to engage all of these new recorders, particularly after the next election, to have those conversations and see if we can get everybody on the same page going forward. There are some structural things that I want to talk about And that is, first of all, um, as Lisa has said on many occasions, we're a small but mighty team. Um, I think some people have the perception that we're a very, very big organization. And the truth is, the staff that we have is um, very reasonable. We have three full-time developers. We have 1.5 customer support people. Lisa is the leader of that. We have one internal primary accountant um, and a part-time communications representative. So it's not a huge team, and but I would say that historically the team is very, very high performing. If you want to look at it from kind of a division of work, obviously accounting is a big part of that. Um, we have grown to the point where we're processing almost $35 million in transactions a year just through e-recorded. And we have many more transactions than that through our statewide point of sale system. So accounting is very important. And uh, uh, anyone looking at the Avalanche record system should know that we go through a complete private audit every year. It's posted online, submitted with the state auditor's office. And I've always liked to call the 99 recorders in Iowa also auditors because they're paying very much attention about the resources that are flowing through Avalanche records back to the individual counties. Software development, the fact is we're a website and we have very important applications that need tending to and they need ongoing maintenance. And there's so much opportunity to get better and provide more services. Um, and there just is more opportunity than we have resources to do with it. So we ask a lot of our developers and they do a fantastic job as well. Customer service is something that we've always placed a very high priority on. Um, every user of the Avalanche record system these days is vetted, and there's an application process. Um, and we receive a lot of new applications every week. Um, that takes time and energy, but our system is better because we do that. And just a few years ago, we created a new central authentication system that for some users does require multi-factor authentication. So security is very important. And actually, I would count that as a significant event in our history because we do work with the Iowa Department of Revenue. And all of their liens and lien releases are submitted through the Iowa Land Record System for recording, and they demand a high level of security because, in effect, in some ways, we're dealing with confidential taxpayer information. So we've been through security audits with not only the Department of Revenue, but the IRS. And that has sort of instilled in us an importance of security in the operation of our system. I would just say uh, security issues can happen to anyone, and we're fortunate that we really haven't ever had to experience that. And it's something that needs ongoing attention and maintenance. Related to that, I would also say that a few years ago, we made a big transition in our system where we moved from equipment owned by the project, we moved it to the cloud. We've always done our accounting through the cloud, through software that's hosted externally. But a few years ago, we actually moved our applications to the cloud as well. We have certain parts of our system operating on Amazon Web Services and other private cloud operations as well. So it's not the same system that it started out to be. We've gone through some transition and change over time. Um, if you want to look away from the business side, just look at our application. What's our core function? We do e-submission, and you can electronically file through Iowa Land Records in any county through Iowa Land Records, and that is something that um, uh, is unique in the country. Um, and because we've been doing it so much and for so many years, um, when e-recording first started, Iowa was among the pioneers. And we still are, although many counties and states have caught up with us because electronic recording has become so prevalent. Um, we started out with a few hundred documents, and this past year in 2025, we recorded several hundred thousand documents representing over 71% of all the documents recorded in Iowa. Our search application has also grown. Um, there aren't many systems that offer free statewide access to public records the way we do, but we do that. And we have a very heavily used search application. We have over 25 million records in the OWL database, and I think we've done a great job. I'm going to spend a little bit of time uh, before we close, and then I want to ask Lisa to make some closing observations as well. And that is that things are changing in the marketplace. Things are changing in technology. We've seen the emergence of blockchain and financial companies wanting to do business with tokenization. There are efforts out in the marketplace to tokenize real estate. They are not widespread, but they are beginning to occur. We've now seen the advent of artificial intelligence. It seems to have exploded in the last couple of years, and that is going to be a big driver in the marketplace as well. I think the point I want to make there for those looking into the future is that time does not stand still. And if the public land registry and county recorders are going to continue to be relevant, they're going to have to up the game. And we've tried to do the best of it we can that we can within the resources that we have. But the world is moving fast, and the prevalent behavior of the private sector is to find workarounds. And that's just the reality of it. So my main recommendation would be don't look back, keep looking forward in order to maintain the relevance of recording and the Iowa land record system. Lisa, I had to go very fast here, but do you have anything you want to add to that?
Couple things. I want to go back to something you said, which is the Iowa Land Record System or Electronic Services System is audited annually, and that it's always been a clean audit. And we're very proud of that, that there's never been any irregularities found working with the auditor. We have a good relationship with the auditor and talk through what is going to happen. Like, okay, are there new accounting procedures that we should be aware of, or new audit procedures we should be aware of before they're here when we're talking to them? So we've always had a clean audit, and that's because of the processes and procedures that we have in place and that we follow every single day, from things as simple as how a receipt is scanned and saved so that it can easily be found if someone needs to look at it. The other thing is, like Phil said, the first few years of e-submission were a few documents. This year it was over 71% of all documents in 2025 were filed electronically in Iowa. And it's as simple as the big bank that you see on every corner to the small attorney's office that's maybe across the street from the courthouse. And they could easily walk over. And it's not that they don't like the recorder, it's that this is efficient and they can do it 24/7 from any computer with internet access. So they like to be able to do it on Sunday morning if they're in the office, or Saturday afternoon, so it's waiting for the recorder on the next business day. So in general, I think our recorders provide excellent customer service, just as we do at our office. They do as well. They're recording documents within a few minutes in most cases of them being received. That's all I've got. It's a great system. I think we are looking to the future to record more documents electronically, to continue improving the Iowa land record systems, both the search site and the electronic recording site.
Thank you, Lisa. And I would just add one or two final comments, and then we can move on. The first comment is that customers and stakeholder groups and the future leadership of Iowa Land Records, you're in good hands with this team. They perform at a very high level. They're very conscientious, and really underlying it all is our collective desire to help you succeed, no matter what your role is. Customer, real estate attorney, banker, mortgage company, surveyor, uh, policymaker. Um, this team has really been oriented toward providing great service and getting better all the time. And the last thing I'll say is for the future leader of Iowa Land Records, this team is ready to help and will do everything they can to help you succeed. And even though I will be moving on from my role as project manager, I want you to know that if I have the opportunity or when I have the opportunity, I will do my very best to help you succeed as well. And with that, that's our um, just I'm sorry, I didn't say in 15 minutes. It's 20, it's 21 minutes, but we did the best we could, and we're happy to answer your questions with the appropriate time. And we wish you the best. Thank you.